So the next story I'm going to bring you guys, I've already kind of talked to you guys a little bit about it, but I'm going to give you guys some more information on the Matthew Oxendine story. Now, I'm going to show you guys the actual autopsy photos, but I'm not going to put them in the video because I don't want the video to get removed. So I already have a link up if you guys are watching this on TikTok. My Google Drive link, look for the Matthew Oxendine file, and then you're going to find the photos under there. If you're watching this on Facebook, go ahead and click on the link that's in the description and look for the Matthew Oxendine file, and then you're going to see the photos there as well. Just a quick recap. This is the story of the gentleman who had called 911. He was in the middle of a mental health crisis. They knew that when they arrived on the scene. He wanted to take his own life. According to the reports, he was in his vehicle. He attempted to light the headliner on fire. They were there trying to talk him down for over an hour. Apparently SWAT had shown up, and he allegedly had a weapon. Turned out that it wasn't a real weapon, and he was shot over 40 times. They ended up taking his life. There's a lot to the story. We're going to get into that. Now, I'm going to tell you on so many levels why you guys are going to agree with me that the police should have been charged on this particular one. I'm not always one for charging police when it comes to shootings, but this is one that they should have been charged, and I'm going to tell you why. I want you guys first to think back to the Breonna Taylor story. When I was speaking about that on my social media, I did not necessarily agree with the police being charged, but in a way, I could see why they were charged, and I'm going to show you guys how to link that to the story. Do a simple Google search on the Breonna Taylor story, but I'm going to give you guys a quick little backstory on that. That is the woman who ended up dying in Louisville, Kentucky. The police had a no-knock warrant. They went, and there's some discrepancy on whether or not they at least announced themselves. They ended up going in to the home. Her boyfriend ended up open firing and actually ended up shooting one of the police officers. The police ended up firing back. There was some back and forth exchange, and Breonna Taylor ended up dying in that exchange. Now, I felt that the police had the right to fire back. I mean, for crying out loud, one of the police officers were shot. However, the problem that you have here is that you have officers that were blindly firing. Okay? He fired a shot, an officer was shot, and then they were blindly just kind of open fire, and this young woman ended up losing her life. The family ended up winning $12 million, and 2 officers ended up being convicted for random charges. Now, let's take that and go back to the Matthew Oxendine story. There's some information in the SBI file. Now, understand that there's a gag order in this, so allegedly a gag order. I haven't seen it, so if there is, oh well, I wasn't served with one, so I'm going to talk about what I do know in this case. And if I talk about stuff that's under a gag order, again, it's only allegedly as far as I'm concerned, and oops, that's all I can say. So my understanding is that apparently the toy weapon was never actually lifted up and pointed at officers. When SWAT lined up and showed up and got over to the vehicle, one of the SWAT officers thought that they were going to go over there, pull him out of the vehicle, and end this. His statement was that he never knew or did not know that they were actually going to go over there and take this young man's life. Apparently the stock, or this toy, I'm going to call it a toy, was in a console area that was closer to the floor. Whether it fell there or not, I don't know. I'm unable to get the report. Apparently it's not open to the public, but an inside source who has information on the report has been kind of giving me some information. And I know I'm not going to tell anybody who it is, and they can ask all they want, but that source is protected. So now they show up to this vehicle. One person yells, "Gun," and they all open fire. And I'm talking about, they had surrounded the vehicle. None of the other officers actually saw the weapon. None of the other officers who opened fire felt that they were in danger. None of the other officers admitted that they felt any of the other officers were in danger. And yet every single one of them, 40 shots. He was shot in the back, on the side of the face, all over the place with shotguns, with all different types of weapons, all different types. I mean, just, you guys, if you haven't already, just go look at the photos. His body was completely mutilated. Again, Robeson County. And guess what? It was considered justified. So you mean to tell me you have 8 SWAT, you have a man who knowingly is having a mental health crisis. He's the one who calls 911 to say he wants to take his life. You have SWAT who lines up. You have a series of officers who never see a weapon. You have one person who yells there is a weapon. Turns out it's not even a real weapon. A bunch of people who fire at this man. Not even from the front. He is fired from the back. He's got wounds in his back. You tell me how the people who shot him from behind, how he was a threat to them, how they were in danger, how they were none of his... I'm sorry, I lose my words on this story because I'm baffled. This is one of those cases that I literally am at a loss for words. I mean, you guys see it. I'm literally at a loss for words because I just don't get it. I come from a law enforcement family. We are a law enforcement family. So anybody and everybody who knows me knows that 99% of the time, I support law enforcement. Always. But wrong is wrong. And even coming from a law enforcement family, even the officers in my family will tell you we are 100% when they're wrong, they're wrong. And in this case, we all feel the exact same way. We're like, oh, hell no. The officers in my family are like, oh, hell no. Nobody understands how nobody is paid for this. Nobody understands how any of these officers have not been charged. Nobody understands how the SBI report is calling this justified. If the SBI is saying this is justified, then I'm sorry, the corruption is not only county deep. Then the corruption goes beyond Robeson County at this point. Because there's no way in hell that you have 8 officers completely take out a man 40 times without ever seeing a weapon. Off of the word of one officer, fire that many times and it is justified. I want to know if the families attempted to file suit because in the Breonna Taylor case, it went federal. And they won $12 million. But then again, it seems like nobody wants to take on Robeson County. And that is concerning to me. Okay, we're out of time. I want to talk about this. You guys, after you guys have looked at the photos, let's chat about this in the comments, especially for my TikTok people. Let me know what you guys think.